Hi everyone, I'm Tanushka, your host for today's episode of Artha Kshetre. Joining us is Shri Sangam Tripathy Ji, a veterinary trade unionist with 4 decades of experience. He has been at the forefront of organizing app-based transport workers across India and is the founding mentor of IFTA, the Indian Federation of App-based Transport Workers. He has also served as the Assistant Regional Secretary for the Asia Pacific region at the International Transport Workers Federation. He is currently serving as an external consultant for ILO's assignment.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. So, sir, initially we would just like to start with a basic question as to how would you define gig and platform workers?
Yeah, so good afternoon and thank you very much for inviting and thank you to the Datuban Thingri Foundation and for this coming up with this idea of podcasts on various subjects and thank you that today very early in your series you have decided to also talk a little bit about platform workers. So yeah, coming to your point about the definition, yeah, a very good question. And in fact, before coming here today I was just thinking that we have never ever thought in terms of as unions, we have never ever thought in terms of what would a definition look like, and so I sat down and tried to, and because I did it just today morning, I'm holding this paper to read it out, because this is what I thought, should be a kind of an ideal definition. And then of course legal language and all that can always be improved. So if you ask me personally, I would say a platform worker is one whose work is mediated, significantly controlled or coordinated by digital platforms, and they are remunerated for the services provided, while also ensuring that they receive a baseline of fundamental labor rights, social protection, irrespective of their employment status. I think a kind of a generic definition of this kind would cover a lot of things that we are presently finding deficits of, in this platform business, platform economy.
That's wonderful, sir. So, adding on to that, I just want to ask, do you think could gig and platform workers truly be a part of a formal system?
Well, as of now, in most of the economies, whether it's the global north or global south, we have yet to come across a geography where the transition of platform workers have gone on to the formal economy. Everywhere it's, either chunks of migrant workers, or in other geographies, the unemployed youth, the unorganized, informal workers who kind of dot the... So as of now, of course, we don't see anywhere where we could say that that transition from informal employment to formal employment has taken place. And so that gives us hope. That hope is still eluding, I think.
That's true, sir. So just to add on, and just wanted to ask out of curiosity that when we are talking about present day situation, various apps have come up with the concept that creates a reckless consumerism, right? And when we're talking about that, there is a concept of speed that is prioritized when these workers have to deliver a certain product. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what do we say? Reckless consumerism, yes, and like today when we talk amongst ourselves in our with our workers, we often say that that this is these days that we are living. आज वो time है कि consumer is the real king. And when we say this, why do we say this? Because and it doesn't that involves us also. I often say that my kids, for example, they sit in the bedroom, book a cab, and when the cab guy comes and stands there and says that I am here, she says, "Acha bhaiya aate hain," and then she takes a good 10 minutes to go down. And I ask her, I say, does that guy, is he there he's there to ride you from point A to point B, not to that you make him wait or things like that. But this is a usual thing, 11 o'clock in the night, people feel the need to eat a pizza. Earlier, they could not think about that because they would have to go to the shop. Now you want an ice cream, you want a pizza, you can have it at 11 o'clock in the night, you can have it at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so this is definitely reckless consumerism. But then kya kar sakte hain, we cannot say that, so that is where we feel that some kind of regulation, and when we say regulation, we are not saying that you should stop eating pizza or stop ordering pizza. So definitely, I mean, the reckless consumerism is kind of sweeping our societies, and then the second thing is then कि चलो ठीक है वहाँ तक भी ठीक है, you may let consumerism boom, that's fine. I mean, it gives work to people, it gives business to companies and so on and so forth. But then along with this kind of consumerism, there should be some kind of respect or dignity for these workers. Small examples, when in the summer of Delhi, 42 degrees, when that delivery man comes to your house, how many people, I often ask people, how many of you ask the delivery man, would you like to have a glass of water? Choti baatein. There are societies in Tony societies in the city, which say delivery persons cannot use the lift. Now, if something is to be delivered on the 7th floor or the 9th floor, what is that guy going to do? The consumer will not come down to take the parcel. Right? So these are small things, in the malls, for example, I mean, those restaurants or cafes in the mall which get orders, the workers are not allowed to go through the main door, they have to go through a service entry door. So small things, let's humanize work, let's not dehumanize work, at the cost of this kind of consumerism.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and that's a very strong point that you have put forward. So just adding, just wanted to ask you another question. When we are talking about workers, do you think that India has a future wherein we could have worker-owned platforms, like India's gig platform worker economy could actually have that as an alternative?
I don't know. I really don't know. And personally, if you ask me, I don't think it's our job to do business. Simply because I mean, a lot of people say, our taxi drivers, for example, they say ki let's have an app of our own, and we'll try to do the business. Let's have an app of our own. Now, what people forget, or I mean, what workers or other people who say such things forget, is that making an app is the smallest part of it. It's the smallest part of it. The real thing is marketing. Ola, Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, the amount of money they spent on marketing. People in our society have forgotten the word cab or taxi. What do we say? Ola bulao, Uber bulao. Now that is the kind of, way it has set into the minds of our consumers and all that. Now, this thing has not happened in a day. It has taken all these years of burning money, spending money on marketing and so on and so forth. So how would we workers or workers organizations be able to spend that sort of money? Which venture capital is going to give us money to kind of make something parallel to an Uber or an Ola, So I don't know. I'm not very upbeat about that. We are workers. We are willing to give our shram, our labor. Give us in return decent work conditions and wages, as per the laws of the country.
That's true, sir. So do you think that women could be part of the gig and platform worker? Like, it is mostly the men who are part of this economy, right?
Exactly. So yes, I mean, presently, and we've done some research on this. We've kind of read things, from the academic researches and all that. And yeah, as of today, our experience is that the participation rate of women in this platform economy is not more than 10%. It's very, very small. Very, very small. And yes, you are, as you say, it is still a primarily male dominated, particularly if you see ride hailing, the cabs, app cabs, and the delivery, it's absolutely male dominated. We have a home care services sector, which has companies like Urban Company and all that. That is where you would find female workforce. So as of now, the participation rate of women is very, very low, and definitely there is a big scope for more women to come into employment, particularly in the platform economy. I mean that's the case for our whole economy. No, the women's participation rate in the economy is not what it should be. Numerically they are almost 50%, but what about the workforce? And there are various, if you ask me about platform economy, there are very, very valid reasons why this participation of women is so small and, so small as of now. There are various reasons, and prime amongst that reason is the issue of safety. Maybe we can come back to it later on.
Sure, sir. So now that you have mentioned about cab workers, one thing that really comes into my mind is about the income. Like, there is a problem when it comes to income stability, right? So could you, sir, elaborate on that? Like, when we're talking about the income, that's not stable. It is just a meager amount. At times, that also is something that gets deducted because of a negative point or a negative star that is given by the customer.
Absolutely. I mean, like, to understand this whole income thing, we have to go back a little, to, let's say, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years ago, when the ride hailing, Ola, Uber first came on the scene, and at that time, the taxi sector all over the country was, of course, regulated. Wherever you had taxis, the Kalipili taxis and others, they had meters. There were permits and badges for the drivers, so the conditions of employment and their rights were all protected. They could form unions, they could join unions, they could negotiate with the transport authorities. Their fares would increase with the increase in fuel rates and all that. So life was good, it was regulated. And then, of course, came the disruption by these app cab industry. And initially, a good period of, I would say, 2 years or so, 2-3 years was like a honeymoon period, And why do we say honeymoon period? Simply because, everybody kind of just rushed to this sector, because there was good income, right? We know that in those days, working for the union, we had taxi unions, but then the taxi unions started feeling the pinch, and then we tried to study, why is this happening? And we suddenly found that, whereas the taxi in those days, like 10-15 years ago, the flag down rate was 20 rupees, let's say, and here was Ola Uber, which was taking you for 8 rupees a kilometer or 10 rupees a kilometer, and with aircon and much better cars, the quality of the cars. And the companies, of course, kind of just kept on increasing the number of drivers on their rolls, So people were earning 1 lakh of rupees, 1.5 lakh of rupees in those days a month. People who started working for Ola Uber. We had experiences of people in Mumbai, for example. We had our unions there, and we were trying to study. So we tried to talk to these people also. And you will not believe, in those days we came across people who were speaking English. They had left their bank jobs and started driving Ola Uber. When I work in the bank, I have to clock in at 9 o'clock, listen to my boss the whole day, fulfill productivity targets, and all that. Here I am a boss of my own, I leave home after at 10 in the morning, come home, sleep in for 1 hour, then drive for another, up to 10 or 11 in the night. Life is good. And because I worked for a bank, I know how to take loans, so after 6 months now, finding that I'm making good money, I've applied for 2 more cars, I'm going to take loan for 2 more cars, put drivers. So like I said, that was a honeymoon period, People were earning, And the lesser category, people who were not so educated suddenly found that, earning 1 lakh rupees a month, they said, मिल गया, अब तो career हमको मिल गया lifelong, बन गया, set हो गई जिंदगी. Life is done now, I've made my life. So that was a thing. Now, as unions, particularly because I was working for the ITF, International Transport Workers Federation, so we had heard of such stories elsewhere, because the digital platform, ride-hailing services, India was not the first country here, so there people had examples and experiences abroad, of how they too went through this period of honeymoon, and how then slowly, like we say, you start closing the tap, So we knew that, and so we did not tell these people ke tum ye mat karo, this is bad, or ye 2 saal baad sab khatam ho jayega. But what we said to them was, get organized, join a union. This is for your own good, And if you form a union, you can still keep working for this, but at least your legal rights will be protected. So on and so forth. Nobody would listen to us. People said, maaf karo. I'm having a good time of my life. Let me live life. Thank you very much. And why I'm telling you this story is because as that honeymoon period started going down after 2.5 years, the incentives started dropping. The rates started coming down. You had to do more rides to earn what, earlier you were working for 8 hours or 9 hours. Now you have to do 14 hours to be able to earn that money. So, like I said, the gradual closing of the tap, that rush of money that you were earning, started becoming a trickle, a small trickle, And so this is what happened in the next 2 or 3 years. And look at it the other side. How did it benefit the companies? The companies had a huge database of drivers on their rolls.
Yeah.
So, and that was their objective. So they could dictate things, And that is after 2 or 3 years, then people started saying, "Arey, saab, kidhar hain aap? Aap, nahi, hamara to bahut halat kharab hai, and we are in a mess," and so on and so forth. And so this is in short the story, of how things changed, and in the ride hailing. And so, like your question is about the income, this is how gradually the income started going down, and that trend which happened, let's say from 2018 or so, it continued. And then of course the what should I say, the real hammer was COVID. So COVID, the 2 years of COVID kind of, broke the back of the workers, I mean, except for delivery people, who were out there delivering food and all that, because they were kind of classified as, essential workers or whatever, Apart from that, cab drivers, they faced periods of starvation. We had to, none of us could come out and do dharna or morcha or anything at that time, but then through advocacy, through kind of, writing letters and representing to the ministries, we had to tell them that, this bloke has to pay 14,000 rupees EMI every month, to the bank. And he's not earning anything. He's sitting home and starving because he's not able to drive. And he's not able to pay those EMIs. Because in reality, the situation was that, forget the nationalized banks, but many drivers go and take these from private NBFCs, what we called, the non-banking finance corporations, And those people, though, they send their, bouncers and take away the car. 2 mahina ho gaya, you have not paid your EMI, we're taking away your car. So I could tell you innumerable stories of what people went through during the COVID, but it like broke the back of the platform workers, So, and this is a very big concern for us in the unions, that issues like dignity, issues like health and safety, women's problems, all of this is being put on the worker, The cost of all this is being put on the worker. And that is a big concern for us. I mean, it should be the responsibility of the employer, the aggregator, or the platforms on these issues. And all of this is being put on the workers, and it's a big cost, which is not being accounted for, anyway. So I hope that answers your question about health and safety and the women's, particularly in the context of women.
That's wonderful, sir. So I just want to ask about, when we're talking about these algorithms, when we're talking about how workers get a bad star, or they get a bad recommendation, and at times their accounts also they get deactivated. Are the workers really protesting, and when they are protesting, are they getting anything out of it? Is there any sort of milestone that we have reached when we talk about the gig and platform economy in India?
So this is, I would say, the biggest weapon that the platforms have, or digital platforms have, and that is the way these algorithms control things. They are opaque. They control everything about the workers' working life, and their earnings, and then the worst thing is that these algorithms are also used by the aggregators to punish the workers. So what actually happens is their accounts get deactivated. So you're a cab driver today. You ride, you do your 12 hours, 14 hours, whatever, you come back home. Next day morning, when you try to log on to your mobile, you find that you cannot do it. Your account has been deactivated, right? And then you wonder what happened, why did this happen, and the reasons could be multiple. It could be that some passenger yesterday gave you a rating of 2, whereas you should have got 5, right? It could be that you were riding for 12 hours the whole day, then you were too tired, you wanted to go home, and you got a ride which was absolutely in the opposite direction of your home, so you cancelled that ride. Why did you cancel that ride? Because it did not make sense for you to go 20 kilometers and then drive back home, because you had already worked for 12 hours. So your account is deactivated. It could be that the platforms think that you are a bit of a nuisance. You try to join a union, you try to get people together, your account could be deactivated. So there is absolutely no reason because of which your account could be deactivated. It's at the total whims and fancies of the platforms. And the official reason given to you is that, it's not us, it's the algorithms. You must have done something wrong because of which the algorithm kind of deactivated you. So algorithms or the control of the algorithms is such that it's like a sword hanging on the head of the platform worker. Whichever platforms you talk about, be it ride hailing, be it delivery, be it home care services, be it anything that is on platform, this sword is hanging on your head, that any time, for reasons not known to you, your account may be deactivated. Number one. Number two, how long will the deactivation take place? No one knows. No one knows. It could last one day, it could last 1 week, it could last 1 month. You never know that. Number three, is there a way out that you can appeal or have your say, or give your side of the story? Because an action has been taken, but you should have a right to respond to it or reply to it, and then there is none. There is an IVR. You make a complaint that my account has been deactivated. When will it open? There is an IVR. You keep talking to that IVR. IVR again is AI. It's not a human being on the other end, who is trying to listen to you, or trying to understand your part of the story, your side of the story. So that is another point, that there is absolutely no recourse.
And if you talk about the unions, you may say, Acha, then what are the unions doing about it? Well, it has now been 5 or 6 or 7 years that there have been unions, active unions of the central trade unions or the private or the independent unions, So it is not that there are no unions. There are unions of central trade unions also, or trying to organize platform workers. There are independent unions like Indian Federation of App-Based Transport Workers, IFAT, trying to organize. Others, who are trying to organize. But you ask any one of them that have you ever had a chance to talk to the aggregators, and the answer you would get is absolutely no. So what that shows is that there is an absolute vacuum when it comes to social dialogue. In the modern world we say, that you may have your interests, I may have my interests, our interests may be conflicting somewhere, but in a civilized social world, we can at least come and sit and have a cup of coffee. We can at least talk. We may not come to an agreement, we may not agree with everything that you say or I say, but we can start a dialogue. And the civilized world and the civilized society says, yes, social dialogue has a place in modern society. That doesn't exist for the aggregators. We have tried so many times meeting representatives of these aggregators in not international, but let's say, conferences organized by the ILO or conferences organized by the chambers of commerce and all that. And we meet them, and we do say hello and they also say hello to us. And then I and my other colleagues in the unions have tried this so many times, we exchange cards and then we say, look, let's meet sometime, over a cup of coffee, So, and the idea is not that we'll present you a charter of demands or something, but at least let's start talking. It's absolutely not there. Absolutely not there. So that is social dialogue. In terms of representations, if you say, that we write letters to them, we send memorandum to them, we make official representation to them, it just falls on deaf ears. Not only our representations, but all the unions. I have yet to see a union where they have got a response or where they have got a problem solved as a result of official representations. Here and there, of course, I could also give you examples. Other unions could also give you examples, where either through some collective action, or let's say we know one individual in the company and we try to call up that individual and try to get things resolved. Beyond these, what should we say, informal things, there exists nothing in terms of grievance redressal. If we were to talk about it in the proper term, so the worker has a grievance, his or her account has been deactivated, so they have been penalized, and now they want to resolve the issue. So there is no grievance handling. No grievance handling, no grievance redressal. That's how things exist.
So when we're talking about this, are there any milestones as such? I don't think
See, now there are milestones, but it's all evolving. I cannot, I or anybody working in this sector can say that look, this is one thing that we achieved. Now things are gradually moving, and when you ask for milestones, now if we take the grievance thing that we just talked about, or the deactivation of accounts and all that, now for many years now we have been saying, and asking that the government has a role to play as a regulator. Somewhere the government needs to step in to regulate this sector. The way it is growing as a hydra, without any controls and total monopoly, total power of the platforms, they do what they want, they behave the way they want, and there's with absolutely no respect for laws of the country or the workers' rights, So we've been saying this for a long time now, that somewhere the government needs to step in and kind of, at least lay down principles and processes, which the aggregators or the platforms need to adhere to. And like you asked me, is there a milestone? So since 2023 now, 2 years back, 3 years back, 2023 was the first year when we could say as unions that something happened, that the government kind of tried to regulate or lay down some legislation, and that was in the state of Rajasthan. Now you will say that, but then, the parliament had already passed the Social Security Code in 2020. Yes, Social Security Code had been passed in 2020. Niti Aayog came up with a report in 2021-22. All of that happened. But then, if you talk about the Social Security Code, well, the unions say, yeah, we have seen it, but it's still not through as a law. The rules have still not been made. It's been 5 years now, right? So, what is there to say for the unions or the workers to say that, oh, did you not benefit from the Social Security Code of the Government of India? Everybody will say, we don't know, because it's still not a law. It's still not there. The rules have not been made. It is not being implemented. So that is why I say that, if you ask in terms of what milestones have we reached or crossed, or 2023 was the first time that the government of Rajasthan kind of agreed, resolved to have a law related to social security, and they also engaged the unions as stakeholders while drafting that law. So we cannot say that we were not asked or we were not consulted, or the drivers or the riders or the platform workers side was not heard or anything. So that was the first law in 2023, which talked about registering, because you have to know how many workers are there. This is another big crisis in our country. 2021, Niti Aayog came up with a report. There are 7.7 million platform workers, gig and platform workers, 77 lakhs. Where they came up with that figure, what survey they did, or what kind of census they did of the workers in this sector, we have not got an answer as yet. But we respect that. That was at least a starting point. Somebody at least in the official circles talked about gig and platform workers, And subsequently beyond that, nothing, So absolute policy vacuum. And so it was in 2023 that, and this is what we told we and the other unions, we told them that, we have to know first of all how many workers are there, And unlike workers in the other unorganized or informal sectors, there's one big difference here. Now, if we say, let us say some unorganized sector, informal sector, and we say that, how many workers would be there? You would actually have to go and do a physical survey to find out, or estimate or survey or something like that, to find out that. Here, that problem doesn't exist. Why? The platform has all the data. They just have to press a button and you will know how many. So, we know that there were 4.5 lakh gig and platform workers in Rajasthan, because the platforms have that data on their database. So it's very simple to know, no? Anyway, so, but then we said at least the data may be there, but the workers have to be registered. Do it in e-shram, do it wherever you want. But even the government, or even if you have to talk about social security, you have to have the numbers. So register those workers. Those workers are today not registered. That cab driver is not like the Kali Bili cab driver who has a badge here. I am doing something else. Tomorrow morning I want to start Ola Uber. I can just open my app, join it, and I can become a driver. And then send my Aadhaar card and this and that and all that. But entry points are so easy, right? So when this is a situation, at least let's register the workers. So in that law, it talks about registration of workers. It talks about registration of employers, right? It talks about a welfare board. Okay, let's have a welfare board. I mean, this is not a new concept. It had been existing for other sectors. There were welfare boards for many other sectors, but there was the need for a welfare board for this sector, and so the welfare board should be formed. Then the whole idea was that where would the money come from? Because there have been many examples. I mean, there are thousands of welfare boards, but in the country, in the states, but many of them say are on paper. Why? There's no money. A welfare board can only dispense benefits, schemes, and other things when it has money in it. You know, right? But now you will say that, you know, but the government, it's the responsibility of the government to allocate budgetary provisions for these boards. You know? Yeah, it's done. I'm not saying it's not done, but then that sometimes is too little. So there was this idea which came up that as far as the platform workers are concerned, there should be a cess. Not a new idea. There are many other industries, in the port industry, in the Mathadi sector. There were examples where cess was levied, and that levied cess became a corpus for the welfare schemes, welfare social security benefits, apart from the other corpus which comes maybe from budgetary provisions of the state government and so on and so forth. So it was agreed that there would be a cess. So for example, if you as a passenger, you ride a cab and your bill is 100 rupees, so from now on you will pay maybe 102 rupees, and that 2 rupees will go to the, as a cess, will go to the welfare fund of the gig and platform workers. And because we are talking about digital platforms, one more advantage that this sector has as compared to the other unorganized informal sectors, workers are all unorganized informal sector workers, but one advantage of the sector is because it's technology oriented. It was also agreed that the state government would kind of monitor everything, right? And you wouldn't have to do it physically. So Central Transaction Information System, CTIMS tech would be set up, and every ride. Oh, नमस्कार कृष्ण।
दिन आप कंटिन्यू करिए।
कैसे?
अरे बहुत अच्छे।
बढ़िया, आपके दर्शन हो गए।
आप
करते हैं, फिर बात करते हैं। Sorry, we'll continue. So what was agreed was there would be this Central Transaction Information Management System, a CTIMS. Every ride or every transaction that happens, whether in the delivery sector, whoever is digital platform worker, every transaction will get recorded there. So what was the cost of that transaction? What the driver earned? What went to the aggregator as their commission? And what is the component of the social security cess? Technology can enable that, so it's not a big deal. So this was agreed upon, that there would be this, and of course, like I said, that when the law said that all the drivers will be registered, all the aggregators will be registered, the idea was that the aggregators will share their data. That was another very big sticking point. And till today, if you ask me whether any success has been achieved anywhere, I don't have much to say, because even at the central government level now, where last year the Labour Minister promised us that it should not be a problem for the central government to ask the aggregators to share their data, because even for e-Shram, you need that data, You cannot expect the unorganized informal sector worker to go to a common service center and say कि अच्छा मेरा e-Shram card बना दीजिए, ये 30 रुपए लीजिए, or go to a computer and do it himself or herself, So at least for the platform sector, we said you don't need to do all this. Just ask the aggregators to share their data, and automatically you will get all the details of those workers, and that can become the government database. Government can ask for it, no? Now I am told some of them are sharing, but not all. Central government. State government, of course, we have nothing to report to you so far. Now let's talk about Rajasthan. What happened in Rajasthan? So excellent. 2023 July, the law gets unanimously passed in the State Assembly, and then elections take place. The government which made the law loses the elections. There's a new government, right? And so August 2023, and now we are sitting in July. We are sitting in July 2025. That law has not moved anywhere from there. So the law was passed, but rules have to be made, and then they have to be notified, and then the law becomes implemented. 2023 August to 2025 July, that law is just lying in cold storage. All of us have tried asking the Rajasthan government, the present Rajasthan government, "Saab, kya hua? It's for your own good. This is the government will get the, accolades for that law, for implementing that law." Standard reply is, all the decisions taken by the previous government are under review. This law is also under review. So that is as far as the first law or the first milestone which we could have said that, here is a milestone that we achieved in 2023. That milestone is not achieved as yet. It's still half-baked, as we would say in English. Anyway, as unions, our work, all the unions, our job is to keep fighting, keep struggling, and move from one victory or one defeat to the next milestone. So we continued struggling, we continued fighting, and then the next round of elections that were going to happen were in Karnataka and Telangana. So we said, okay, central government is not doing anything. The constitution of the country says states can also make laws. There are many laws in this country which were initiated in the states, many laws. So our constitution allows that. No problem. Central government is not doing anything, so what? Let's go to the states. So then the Karnataka elections and the Telangana elections were to happen, and we continued our fight and our struggle, saying that elections are around the corner. We expect all the political parties who are fighting this election to also talk about the gig and platform workers. These are big numbers. And whatever any party does for these workers, they should get the political advantage of that. People will vote for you, and then say that this party has done this for us. Anyway, so one party did put in their election manifesto that if they got elected, they will formulate a law for the gig and platform workers. And after the elections were over, so that party won, and after the elections were over, then again for the unions, our job is to keep fighting, keep struggling. There is no magic wand, that party जीत के आगे तो वो कल आपके लिए law बना देगी. We have to keep shouting, keep asking. That is the job of the unions, to keep asking, to keep demanding, to keep advocating, to keep pushing. So then, of course, we continued that, and the government of the state government said, "No, we are committed to it. It was part of our election manifesto, so we will do it." And again, like Rajasthan, they also involved the unions. So there were representatives of central trade unions. There was representatives of independent unions like IFAT. Government and the bureaucrats did engage us. And we had, of course, taken the experience of the Rajasthan, so we said, now when we are going to the next step, it should be something better than Rajasthan. That is the job of the unions, that आज अगर हमें 2 रुपए मिले हैं तो हमें कोशिश करनी है कल इसको हम बढ़ा के 3 रुपए कैसे कर सकते हैं, So it's not extracting, it's just kind of bringing up the equality in society, that. So we said that the Karnataka law should be better than the Rajasthan law, at least in some. And for us, all through, you asked this question quite in the beginning about earnings, So, all these things that we are talking about, if you ask me honestly, that what is my experience in the field? My experience in the field, in all the states that we go, and all the drivers that we talk to, or all the delivery people that we talk to, ठीक है, कि हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं आपके लिए कानून बने, हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं, we are trying that you should at least get some social security benefits, that you should get some accident insurance, that you should get some health insurance, these are very basic fundamental rights of workers, and we are living in a country where all these benefits and rights exist. It's a democracy. So we are trying for all this. And you will not believe, 8 out of 10 times, you know what response we get? Sir, all that is fine. Rate कब बढ़ रहा है? You understand? So for that grassroots worker, whether he is a delivery boy or whether he is a cab driver, for him or her what matters the most is, at the end of the day, what am I going to take home? And we have no right to blame them. We have no right to blame them, because if you analyze the situation, we have done surveys. Last year we did a survey of around 11,000 workers, cab drivers and delivery persons. 11,000 workers का हमने सर्वे किया था in 8 cities of India, right? And we tried to look at their socio-economic conditions, so we covered everything. What do you earn? How many hours do you drive? What do you take home? What is your monthly income? What is your family expenses? How much time can you give to your family? So all the socio-economic aspects we covered that survey, and there is a report of that survey, and you will not believe the results that we got, and this has been corroborated by many other researchers also, So the cab driver, on an average, takes home something like 20,000, 18 to 20,000 a month, after deducting all the expenses. The delivery boy, the average works out to between 15 to 16,000. Now, in many of our states, this Delhi where we are sitting, right? Even the minimum wages is more. You agree? So, a cab driver who is a skilled worker, he is not an unskilled worker, he is a skilled worker. Everybody can't drive a cab. He is a skilled worker. So, even in minimum wages, he should get a skilled worker's minimum wages. But what is he getting? Not even the unskilled worker level of wages. So these are the things, So we said that, so biggest issue for us then, yesterday, today and tomorrow will be earnings. I am not using the word wages here because, people will say that, but there is no employer-employee relationship. Now, because there is no employer-employee relationship, how can you ask for wages, So let's use whatever term you want to use. But what we are saying is, there should be a floor, a minimum floor of economic benefits and social benefits. There is going to be no compromise. So you want to do piece rate because the delivery person, does 12 deliveries in a day, 14 deliveries in a day. Okay, do that, no problem. You want a cab driver to, because in the regulated taxi sector, it was very simple. The meter was calibrated on the basis of distance travelled and time taken, and they came to there was a formula, right? And then they added the fuel cost, they added the waiting cost, they added the maintenance cost, and then they came to a formula saying flag down itna hoga, minimum will be this much, and then the per kilometer rate will be whatever it is, and that keeps on increasing as various indicators like fuel and other things increase, or cost of living. So, but here there's nothing, So then so that was one big issue, wages, earnings, which we put to the next Karnataka government. Algorithms was the second biggest issue. That the way these algorithms are controlling the workers, some regulation has to be brought in here, right? And related to that was grievance handling, grievance redressal. Okay, most of the grievances are as a result of the algorithm manipulations. The punishments that the workers get are because of the algorithm. So somewhere there has to be a process of grievance redressal, right? And baki cheezein like safety, health, this, that, women's issues and all of that. But then this was, we said, compared to Rajasthan, this should improve in Karnataka. Now, again, that did not happen in one day. It went up to the cabinet, the draft law went up to the cabinet, and it did not get through the cabinet in 2024. And we have to wait for one more year until this year, last month, or in May, I think. Finally, through an ordinance, the Karnataka law has been passed now. That was May, now we are in July. Fortunately, we are just 2 days back, the rules are also now in the public domain. So we are working on that now, how they can be improved. But that we could say, once it is implemented, the rules get framed and the law starts getting implemented, then we could say that will be the first. Because as unions, we also need a model, to say that हमने इतने साल काम किया, we worked in the unions, we tried to organize people, the workers got organized, they mobilized, they got together, and this is the model law that we. And once you have a model law which is passed, approved, passed, and implemented, it also becomes a precedent for the other states. As unions, we can say, look, Karnataka made this. What will you do for the gig and platform workers? There is this model, right? And to our members also, to the workers also, we can say that, look, all those efforts you made, all those sacrifices you made, joining the union, fighting, protesting, advocating, this is what we have achieved. So, as of now, Karnataka law looks to be better than the Rajasthan law in some ways. In addition to, it has all those other things like the Rajasthan law. There is one small bit of the cess which needs to get resolved, because there is some confusion on that. But anyway, it is still early days. But the Karnataka law, now in the law, talks about algorithms and says that, the workers have a right to know about deductions, on what basis the deductions took place, and if their accounts are deactivated, there has to be a process, starting with the internal dispute resolution thing, where the aggregators can say that, Acha, theek hai, this dispute has come to us, give us time. And particularly in terms of termination, solid reasons have to be given by the aggregator or the platform to say why this worker's job has been terminated. So there are some such things, which are an improvement on Rajasthan law. But like I said, till the rules don't get framed and it doesn't get implemented, the law as a whole with the rules doesn't get implemented, but we can see some kind of a milestone. The same is the case with Telangana. It has taken again 5-6 years. A similar story like Karnataka, where before the elections, all of us, the unions, we lobbied. One of the parties kind of put it in their manifesto saying that if we win the elections, we will do something for the gig and platform workers. And that party won. And then, then it has taken us quite some time, 2 or 3 years. Now again that law is almost ready. They involved the unions were engaged as stakeholders, so that part of it was good. We were consulted at every stage. And again, from our viewpoint, our emphasis was that again, Telangana law should be a little better than the Karnataka law, So here, if you ask me as of today, it is still not, the law is still not through, but there is some talk about earnings. There is some talk about, appointing a committee, once the law is approved, appointing a committee to see how concept of minimum wages or piece rate can be worked out for the platform gig and platform workers. So that is as far as Telangana is concerned. Again, a milestone which is still not achieved. It's still there. We can see it, but it's still not achieved. And the last effort that as of now we are making, or the current effort that we are making right now, is with Jharkhand, because there also the government had expressed their seriousness and resolve to do something for the gig and platform workers. Draft law has been made. It is, we are told that it is going to be presented to the cabinet now, and then in this monsoon session.